Hi, welcome to the virtual orientation for your 265 RLS Jay Flight by Jayco. We're going to start orientation on the outside and we're going to begin at the front. First thing that we'll talk about is your front storage or pass-through compartment. In this front storage compartment we will find a few different things, one of which is your manual crank for your stabilization jacks and the manual crank for your electric tongue jack. While we're down here, we'll talk a little bit about your stabilization jacks. They should always be used to stabilize, never to level your RV. So you should have your RV pretty much level or as level as you want it, and then snug these up to the ground. Or, depending on your site, you may wish to travel with blocking. I would recommend 6x6 blocks, as they seem to work for most applications. Before we go around to the front, I'll make note of the side marker light or camera body. You will see that this side marker light has this extra piece here, and that is actually for a side view camera. Both front marker lights have this extra piece, so you can purchase the optional side view camera if you wish to do so. As we come around the front, make note of the battery storage compartment, and just in front of that we have your dual 30-pound bottle storage here. These two bottles, or 30-pound bottles, are connected by your crossover regulator. And what the crossover regulator will do, so you can see here that the handle is pointing in this direction. That means it'll draw from this 30-pound bottle first. However, in the event that this 30-pound bottle drops below a predetermined amount of pressure, and that amount of pressure is predetermined by the regulator and isn't adjustable. So when this drops below that predetermined amount of pressure, it will automatically cross over and draw from the second bottle. Meaning on a cold night, or if it's raining like it is right now, you don't have to come outside and switch bottles over. Also at the front we have your electric tongue jack. A couple things to note here. We have this front loading light, handy for hitching up at night. We have your retract and extend for the jack itself, and we have this stopper at the top here that, once removed, will give you access to the nut so you can use your manual crank that I showed you in the front storage compartment. Also on the front we have your safety breakaway switch. This safety breakaway switch is connected by the loop end to the tow vehicle, and the other end is connected to the pin inside the housing of the breakaway switch itself. In the event that your RV is disconnected from the tow vehicle, this pin will pull free the housing and engage the trailer brakes. If at any time you do a hookup or your hitch up, and you maybe notice when you go to pull away, it feels like your brakes may be sticking on. Always just come and check to make sure that the pin is fully seated inside the housing, as I have seen it that during the hitch up this gets pulled or stepped on and it pulls partially free. Just enough to engage the brakes, but not enough for the pin to come out. So as we make our way along the outside of the RV, we make note of your off-door side access to the front storage compartment. And most notably on this side, you will find your 30 amp cord that is supplied. Now, to go along with this 30 amp cord, we will also provide you with a 15 amp conversion block, and I'll show you that when we're inside. Continue along the outside of the RV, we have just a storage compartment here, but then we have your outside access to the hot water tank. And of note here, we want to make sure that we know where the drain cap is and the pressure relief valve. If you're ever removing the drain cap to drain your water tank, always make sure that the pressure relief valve is open to relieve any pressure, as this will come shooting off of there pretty hard. Also on this side we have your black tank flush. You connect your garden hose to the black tank valve here. Before you turn the hose on, however, always make sure that you have this end, your output for your black and gray water tanks. You have that connected to your sanitary system or sewage system, so like a dumping station at a campground, say, and that your black water valve has been open. Do not run the black tank flush with this valve closed. That will not be good. While we're down here, just make note of the handle position for your gray water tank. So once you make sure you're connected to the sewage system and you have the valve open for your black tank, you can then go ahead and turn on the water and flush your black tank system. Right underneath that, we have your city water connection. Your city water connection is what you'd connect to the garden hose of your campground or your house. Once connected, you turn the tap on at the campground and it will then pressurize your water system via the city water connection. Then you can use your water much like you would your water at home. So we continue along the outside of the RV. We'll make note of the main input for cable or satellite TV for the RV, as well. I'll make a brief mention of where we put your sewer hose. It is in this bumper here, the off-door side, sorry, of the bumper. Continue along the back, we have your 30 amp power connection point here. That's where you'll put the cable that I showed you in the front off-door side pass-through storage compartment. Also on the back of the RV, we'll make note of the camera body for your rear view camera. Previously, I did mention the 2 side view cameras for the side marker lights. Those will work in connection with this rear view camera as well. They can be purchased as a separate package. All 3 cameras can be monitored via a hedge unit that is connected via 12-volt power inside the tow vehicle and can be monitored while in transit. So we continue along around the outside here. We'll make note of a few things. Underneath your awning here, we have your 120-volt power, your cable output, and a block for a mount for your TV. That way you have everything you need to watch TV outside under your awning here. And right next to that we have the fill point for your potable water or fresh water tank. This is basically where, if you're going to go camping and there's not going to be a water supply or a clean water supply, you can fill this tank before you leave on your trip to make sure it's full, and then you can utilize the onboard water pump to draw water from here and pressurize your system. Also on this side of the RV, we have the outside access to your refrigerator. It's important to make sure that this remains obstruction free at all times, as maximum airflow is needed through this venting in order for your refrigerator to operate properly. One of the last things we're going to show you while we're right here underneath the awning are your speakers. There's one there, and they can be used in conjunction with the stereo system inside the RV. That about does it for the outside. Let's head inside and see what we have to show you. So now that we're inside, we'll turn around and take a look down here, and we'll just make note of the position of the fire extinguisher for the RV. I always like to know where all the safety equipment is, just in case. I like the placement of these just inside the door, making it readily accessible to use if you're cooking outside and you need it, or for inside the RV. Also, while we're down here and talking about safety equipment, let's talk about your carbon monoxide propane gas alarm. There's a button on the front here right above that green light. It's a good idea to test this system. So to test it, you press this button above the green light. The light will turn from green to red. It'll flash and beep and make a bunch of noise at you, and then it'll return to a solid green light and be quiet if the system is working properly. If it's not, you'll hear a periodic chirp, and this will be a red light, which would indicate that there's either carbon monoxide or propane detected. However, this thing can be set off by different things, most notably paint fumes. So just be aware of that if you're doing any painting and the alarm starts going off, that could be the culprit. Now, if you look over here, you're gonna have to trust me. I am pointing at your smoke detector. So I would generally recommend that you test your carbon monoxide propane detector every time you check your smoke detector. If your smoke detector is generally said to be tested every 6 months or during daylight savings time kind of thing. So it's always just easy to remember to change your carbon monoxide propane detector at the same time. So we'll turn back around here, show you the main switches for the lights inside the RV and the light on your awning, as well as controls to move your awning in and out and your slide in and out. Also in this area we have your indication panel giving you the levels of the battery, the fresh water tank, the black water tank, and the gray water tank, as well as switching for your water pump, and for your water heater on gas and electric. So right now these chairs are set up in transport mode, or the way they should be when you're transporting or you're moving your RV. We have these covers on, you protect the corners, they're strapped down. Same with this one, and importance for this one is you can see that the wall of the slide, when it comes in, it will come in and it will not hit this chair. Always important to remember if you bring your slide in and out often. So along the back wall of the RV, we'll make note of the emergency exit. It's pretty simple to use. Flip this lock and the window swings open. As we move into the main area of the RV, we'll make note of your gas appliances. And the best practices when using these, you'll see the first thing I did when I walked over to this range top was open the glass door. So I opened the glass door because when you go to light this appliance, you do not want the glass down. As soon as you light it with the glass down, it will break the glass. So always, always, always open this first before doing anything with your stove. Now that we've opened the glass top, we can go to light. In order to light, we turn this to the light position and turn the manual or the automatic sparking knob. So we do that same thing for all three top burners and the oven as well. The only difference being, one, always open your oven door before you attempt to light it. Two, you still turn it to the light position, but before you turn the sparking knob, you must press and hold the knob in while you are turning the sparking knob here. I'm going to take a quick second here. We'll squat down and take a look inside this storage compartment. You'll see that I have preemptively removed this little piece of cabinetry, and it reveals the hidden treasure of your water pump. So this is where your water pump is located. I talked about it briefly outside when I was talking about your freshwater tank. Things to note inside here is this valve handle here. At the moment, the way it is lined up, it is set to draw from the freshwater tank. However, if we turn this handle to this position, it is now set up to draw from this fill tube. Why would you want to draw from the fill tube? Well, that's how you would put antifreeze through the system to winterize the RV. So we'll move over here and we'll take a look at the load center. The load center for your RV is where you'll find your breakers, much like you'd see in your house, and they function pretty much the exact same way. And the fuses, like you would see in your vehicle. These ones, however, do have a red LED that lights up when a circuit is not performing the way it should. Next, we'll take a look at your refrigerator. This refrigerator will operate on gas or on electricity, and it has two modes: auto, well, I guess three: auto, off, and just gas. Obviously, if you have it set to just gas, it will only light on propane, and if you have it set to auto, it will choose between either gas or electricity. And it'll make that decision based on the availability of either the gas or the electricity. If electricity is available, it will always choose to light on the electricity. However, if for whatever reason the electricity isn't available, let's say the power goes out, then the gas system will kick on. One thing to note, if you just pulled up to your campsite, you've plugged it in, and you're running in to turn on your fridge because you want to make sure everything's cold if you didn't already have it running, if this is the first thing you're going to do, you may notice that it does not light the first time. Anytime you try to light it, it'll attempt it 3 times. You might hear a little clicking. That's it trying to light. Once it tries to light 3 times, if it was unable to do so, you'll see that this light is flashing. That would indicate that something happened, something went wrong, and it didn't light properly. If that's the case, I would turn it off, go up front, make sure the bottles are open. Give it a minute, come back in, try it again, and it should light just fine. Usually it's just a matter of not enough pressure built up in the lines, or there's too much air in the lines still. That being said, to pretty much avoid that, you can always light your burners first. That kind of bleeds the system of a lot of the air and ensures that when you go to light an appliance like this, that there is less air in the system and more readily able to light. Next, we'll take a little look at the thermostat. It has a capacitive touch button, meaning it isn't mechanical and it doesn't require a lot of force to press it. So we can cycle through with the power button or the mode button from fan, high, low, or auto, to cold or your AC, or then the furnace and the heat. If the fan is on high, when the furnace runs, it will use the fan for the AC to achieve that high fan output. So if you have your AC fan running when you're trying to run your furnace, come back here, check your settings, make sure your setting is on auto and not high. Now that we've talked a little bit about the AC, let's just kind of finish it off here. You'll notice that your AC has this baffling here. With these baffles open, the majority of your cold air will fall right here into the main area of the trailer. However, with it closed, it will force the cold air to these ports located throughout the RV. Next thing we'll take a look at is your TV and your stereo. And when speaking about your TV, the main thing I want to make note of is back in here on the other side of the cable, there's a tiny little button that you won't be able to see. However, you can see that that green light came on when I pressed it. That is your signal booster for your antenna. With it on, your cable or satellite receiver won't receive the signal properly. However, with it off, you may not get the channels that you'd like via antenna. So, if you use your TV with cable or satellite, make sure that green light is off, or that button is off, and then you should be able to set up your cable properly. Now directly below here, we have your stereo for the RV. There's a couple things to make note of. One, there's two buttons. Previously I had mentioned that the speakers outside could be used with the stereo inside. And this is how we do it via zone 1 and 2. Zone 1 would be the speakers inside the RV, and zone 2 would be the speakers outside the RV. And those speakers would be those two speakers on your awning. You'll also note that the stereo has an HDMI input, auxiliary input, Bluetooth, as well as USB charging capabilities. Let's make our way into the bathroom. And one of the first things that we'll notice when we're in the bathroom is this is where the GFCI plug for the RV is located. I'm running off batteries, so you won't actually see it because there's no power to these plugs at the moment, but when working, if this has been tripped, you'll see a red light come on. And some of the symptoms of having this being tripped or set off would be that anything on the load side of the GFCI plug won't be functioning. So what would be on the load side of this GFCI plug? That would be any receptacle near water like this, the outside receptacles, any receptacles in your kitchen around the countertop. So if any of those aren't working, I would first come here and just take a look and make sure that you don't have to just press this little reset button at the top. Nice corner shower, nice toilet, and as we turn around, you can see that I preemptively took the back off the inside portion of the water tank. And the reason why I did this is I wanted to show you these two valves. These two valves here at the moment are pointing in towards the water tank. That would indicate that the water flow is going through the tank. If we were to switch them to this position, that would then, well, both of them to that position, that would then bypass the tank and just do this loop here. The reason why you'd want to do that would be for winterization purposes. So if you're trying to winterize your RV, you don't need to fill your water tank full of antifreeze. It can be drained via the drain plug outside. So you'd simply set this to bypass. Then you save money on having to fill your water tank with antifreeze. So make my way into the bedroom here. Couple of things to note. We have, again, a venting for your AC so you can get cold air in here. Also in the bedroom, you'll notice that we have switching for a nice little night light, as well as 120 volt power on either side of the bed so you can charge whatever you need to charge. And as we come over here, you can see there is a mounting bracket that works with, if you notice here, that's the same mounting block that was outside underneath the awning on the outside of the RV. This bracket can be mounted to a TV that can be then mounted to your wall, like so. And we already have the output for the TV and the power source as well. Also on this side of the RV, you'll notice we have this pre-wire for solar. There's connection points on the roof for your solar panels. And this is the location that you could use for the head unit to monitor the solar system. Again, this is all extras or add-ons that you could purchase separately. It just makes it really convenient that it's pre-wired for it. It makes it a lot easier to install. If we go just below that, we'll come to the emergency exit for inside the bedroom. It's pretty easy to operate. You have this black tab. You push down on the black tab, push the right handle over and out. Once you have the handle perpendicular to the window, you push it totally free of the RV. Once it's out, you can then grab this little red tab, pulling the screen out, then you can escape to safety. That does it for the virtual orientation. I hope you found it informative. There's a lot to go over and probably a lot of questions. I hope I've answered at least some of them, if not all of them. If you have any questions left over whatsoever, please make sure you give us a call and we'll do our absolute best to make sure you are fully comfortable with your RV and know everything that you need and want to know about it before your first trip. Thank you very much.